guys, Dave D. It is Thursday afternoon. I think we're pushing about 10 of 6. So thanks for taking a few minutes out. You know, we've been setting up calls and webinars every night, and I think it can be a little too much. There's a lot of information that we absolutely want to get out to you. So there's some really vital information. But I think a lot of times I want you to be able to get the information on your own schedule. So, you know, the live opportunity on Monday, we're going to keep that at 8:30. I'd love to set up a couple more as more of you learn how to do the presentation the way Darlene did Monday night. She was fantastic. Really fantastic. Tuesday nights, you know, doing some training with presenters. I'd rather work with you one-on-one. Wednesday, we're still going to have our team calls, our university calls, our corporate calls. And Thursday, you know, with the book club and the 90-day sprint, I'm actually going to handle this week's call right here for that. I think the mindset, the personal development portion of what we train is actually the most important piece. It's not what everybody asks for, and I understand that. But you need to, I want you to understand this. You don't need to, but I want you to. Until your professional results will never exceed your personal development, okay? Never, ever. It can't, okay? So if you want to create a result here that say you've never created before, or maybe it's the first time in this industry, we got people on the team that have made a multiple six-figure income, but they've never done it here. For you to do that, it's going to take a new sense of personal development, okay? A new growth. So when I say personal development is 90 to 95% of this entire business and your success, I absolutely mean that. I absolutely positively mean that, okay? So I'm not just saying it and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, it's really real. So until you change and start creating that, until you up your personal development, you're never going to get a new result. Ever, ever, ever. Do what you've always done, get what you always got. More closely we should say, be who you've always been being, bring to the world that which you see as the way of the world is, and you're going to get the same results over and over. And then after a while, we start blaming the rest of the world for, look at that, I knew that was going to happen. But we haven't changed who we're being and what we bring into the world. Okay? So the personal development piece is absolutely critical. I am usually within the pages of 2 or 3 books at any given time on personal development, on personal growth, on where I need to go next. What's the next step? How do I move this forward? Because if you're green, you are growing. Okay? If you're right, you're right. If you have all the answers, and we know all the people like that, and they're stagnant, they're not going anywhere. And after a while, it starts to stink. That's the rock. So you can change that like that, is start learning something new. So chapter 3, I'm not going to read the chapter. This is Think and Grow Rich. You can download the book on our training site, trainingwithdaveandjoy.com. But chapter 3 is really critical. This is where everything changed for Joy and I about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was working 4 jobs. Sometimes I had a 5th job, okay? I was up at 3:30 delivering newspapers here in Burlington, Vermont. Not a career move kind of a place, right? But put food on the table. At 6 o'clock, I'd be home, I'd shower, I'd change in my gym clothes, head over to the gym. I was the janitor. I swept the floors, I cleaned out all the commodes, did the showers. I did it all over there. By around 8 o'clock, I always had my first client come in. I was a personal trainer. On the weekends, I also was the the daytime manager of a Days Inn. So I was working 7 days a week. And then in between that, I had a friend at the gym who painted apartment buildings, 2 stories and the trim and like that. And he would ask me, hey, I need some extra help. And I'd work for a week or 2 with him, 6-7 hours a day on the top of 28-foot ladders at age 55. And I'm looking down going, what's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? And then I picked up this book, Think and Grow Rich, for the 7th time. And I always joke and say I was just absolutely amazed what Napoleon Hill, he obviously came back from the dead to put new stuff in here, because I didn't see this my first 3, 4, 5, 6 times. There's an old saying that goes, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. Well, this book appeared for me again, okay? And there was something in the middle of this chapter, and you can read the chapter yourself. I'm not here to read to you. That's like 3rd grade. But if you make some popcorn, no, we won't do that. So one thing I do want to talk, and he talks about A desire, which is chapter 2, a desire that has been emotionalized can more easily, you can feel more faithful about that. You have the faith to actually move forward. One of the things I really want to share with you, he talks about faith as a state of mind, which can be induced by autosuggestion. What's autosuggestion? Autosuggestion is telling yourself something over and over and over and over and over and over and over, just like, and I talked about this a week or so ago, we talked about paradigms and how they're created. You know, as kids, we're an open book. We're open, and everything from our parents, our old brothers and sisters, just gets fed into this, right? And we just accept it all as true. And usually by age 4 or 5, that's how we think the world is. In fact, it is how we know the world is. We'll fight for it. We'll die for that. Okay, but what if it isn't that? What if what you learn from your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your first teachers, those kind of things? What if their stuff was kind of messed up, and you always found it hard? I don't know if you've ever noticed. I found this in my life that I'm always like banging my forehead. I should have big bruises up here, right? I'm always banging to another brick wall to get something new to happen. You can't bring your old mind to get to the new result, though. Okay, and so he talks about how to change that in the book. The one piece that I want to share, and probably the most powerful piece for me, and I still do this, he has a self-confidence formula. It's in the middle of chapter 3. This is Think and Grow Rich. It's number 2 on the self-confidence. I am going to read this one paragraph to you. Second, I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Now let's think about that. I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action. So it takes action, right? And the one thing people don't seem to understand with the law of attraction is the main word in attraction, the root word is action. You got to get yourself into action, right? But you got to have your body and your mind and your life only goes and follows the dominating thoughts that you currently have, and that's what you put into action. And if you keep having the same thoughts you had yesterday, the month before, 5 years before, you're going to get the same result. Okay, so if you want a new result, he goes on. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. So once again, the last part of this, first, you know the dominating thoughts will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and transform themselves eventually into your physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become. This is where everything changed for us. Absolutely everything changed. As I sat every day, and some days I would get a pad of paper and I would just write for 30 minutes. Set your timer on your phone, right? I would set the timer 30 minutes. I still do. And I just start writing. Or sometimes I'll just sit and think. I find writing focuses me better. And what am I writing about? I'm writing and I'm getting really specific on who do I intend to become that has my new goal, that has my new result, that has my new desire, okay? So if my goal is $50,000 a month or whatever your goal is, okay, I'm not giving you yours, but that Dave at that level, at that person, at that is a slightly different version than who's in front of you right now, okay? Not a lot different. I mean, I'm not going to be any taller. I'm certainly not going to be any better looking, but there is going to be some differences. There's a quality of leadership that people are going to follow, that more people are going to follow, that more things are going to happen, other leaders show up, that these trainings get better, that whatever that is, and I start thinking about who do I need to become? Who do I intend to become who has that result? And if you'll sit and think, and it was Henry Ford who said, you know, the thinking's the hardest thing in the world. That's why very few men engage in it. And that's true. But you need to stop and think. And if you'll do this 30 minutes a day, and if you feel like your day's too full, I get it. Get up a half hour earlier. It's that worth it, period, okay? Within a couple of weeks, if you'll just keep thinking about what your ultimate goal is, whatever that is, and ours back then, 5 years ago, was to make at least $5,000 a month and then get to $10,000 a month. We got the $5,000 in 3 months and $10,000 past that in 6 months. And it came from the conversations in my head and on my pad of paper. Who did I need to be? Well, I saw myself, I needed to stand up a little taller. I needed to make a couple of more phone calls. Perhaps I needed to just ask someone to buy. That's what somebody does, is making $10,000 a month. right? So this whole process, and so within about a week or two, if you'll do this for 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, you're going to start noticing things in your environment that are actually matching with what you've been talking about to yourself and your paper. You don't have to tell anybody. Because what started happening is people started showing up for us. People started buying larger packs. People came to us easily and effortlessly. If someone showed up to the company, they would reach out and say, hey, we think you're the perfect leaders to work with these people. I mean, things like that, the stuff that's like, how did this happen? Is it magic? Well, no, it's not magic. It's just aligning yourself with the ultimate goal, the ultimate desire. See, a lot of people think that the law of attraction and a lot of this new agey stuff is all about all you got to do is sit and meditate and like that. It doesn't really get you where you want to go. You feel good, but what you're doing with even with that process, as well as who you intend to become, is aligning yourself. You're not changing the world. You're not changing the world, because see, all the money you want is already in the world. It's already in the world. Okay. In the Bible, it says God has already said yes before you ask. It's already here. Your job, if you choose to accept it, is to align yourself with that which is already here. Ooh, that's powerful. Think about that. If what you want is already here, and I'm telling you it absolutely is. If it's 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 a month, what or beyond, there's people already doing that. We know it's here. The people that are going to show up, they're not coming from Mars. They're already on the Earth. They're here, right? The only person who's out of sync with that result right now is you. And in this example that I'm expressing, it's me, right? So what am I doing when I meditate? What am I doing when I'm jotting down who I intend to become? I am slowly but surely aligning myself with that which is what I want. You will start seeing results and responses out of this if you do it consistent. You got to remember, you've been working a long time on being the way you are. You're actually pretty committed to it. In fact, you'll probably argue with me if I were to call you and say, call you on some of your stuff, like I may argue with you if you call me on some of my stuff. So we came as young kids and we were full. Everything got just filled up and we accepted everything, and that's the way the world is, right? That's the way the world is. You hear people say that, well, you know how they are, or you know how that turns out, or, just like me, bad luck, all of a sudden you start aligning with those things. And if you align with those things, you get those results. You want to start aligning with that which you desire in your life. So chapter 3 in Think and Grow Rich, and it's number 2 in the self-confidence formula. I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become. Now, in this 30 minutes, you don't have to sit there and come up with plans. In fact, don't do plans. If you're a planner, stop it. This is a time I want you to get the feeling inside yourself of who you intend to become, who you are going to be, who has that result, how that actually is going, how you feel yourself walking into the bank, making a huge deposit, how you feel buying that new car, getting into that, paying cash for it, having what it is you want, walking away from the job, telling your boss you absolutely love them, but you're just unemployable anymore. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye. Whatever that is, I want you to get that feeling of what that is. And when you do, throw your shoulders back, take your chin up just slightly, open your eyes a little more than you normally do, and you'll start noticing that the action of you feeling like you're already there begins to take hold. And if you'll do this on a consistent basis, I am telling you right now, you'll start seeing things in the world that you hadn't seen before. Here's an example. When my wife was pregnant with our daughter, Jessica, okay? This was back in 1983, okay? All of a sudden, I don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden, when I went to the grocery store, there was all these pregnant women. Now, I don't know where the hell they were before, but all of a sudden, they're all over the place. It was like Richmond, Virginia was a really fertile place. I didn't know that. But all of a sudden, right, back in 1973, my parents bought a Celica, a Toyota Celica. They were such cool cars. This was like the second or third year they came out. Ours was a little red one with a black top. We named her Sally. She got me home a few nights. I have no idea how, but she was a good car. We've got that car. I'd never heard of a Toyota Celica. What the heck's that? And all of a sudden, Mom and Dad bought the car, and Marty and I, my brother and I, drove it a lot. And as we're out driving, there's all these other Celicas on the road. I'm like, when did they come in, right? So when you start living from or experiencing that which you are after, and you start seeing yourself fitting that, you're going to start noticing those things that connect with that out in the world. Okay? They've always been there. You've been the one who has not been aligned. Okay? So, great comment, great quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who passed away a couple years ago. Somebody I've been reading since 1970. When was his first book? Had to be the early 70s, Your Erroneous Zones, right? I thought the title meant something different. I remember my mom had it in our living room, and I took it and went out in the garage reading it, and I said, this is about your self-image. I thought it was about something else. But I've been following this guy for forever. A couple of his books, when they came out, I thought they should have started with, okay, Dave, here's your next step, right? And one of the things he said, was it, and maybe I've lost it because I went off on a tangent, talking about who you want to be. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. Yeah, if anybody can remind me what I was talking about, fantastic. So we may have to come back to that. But it tied into the same thing. You'll start seeing in the world that's what you are. Okay, that's what you start. That's all you could see. That's all this potential. I forget the exact quote. I'll post it though. So guys, here's what I want you to do. Here's your next step. First of all, identify where you believe you want to get to. It may not feel super clear yet, and it's not going to, because you're not there yet. Okay, it's like trying to visualize yourself taking a trip and ending up somewhere else. You don't know exactly what the weather's like. You don't know exactly what clothes people are going to be wearing, but you have an idea of where you want to get to. And then I want you to start building this day by day. So every day, I do it in the morning. Take 30 minutes and think about the person you intend to become who has that new result. Think about who that is. Okay, see it as yourself. Begin experiencing it. Feel it, see it. Another really good way to do this is called walking meditation. Stand up and walk, and as you walk, feel yourself already with the result and who you're being and who that is and what you hear people say and how people show up for you and how easy that is. Because I'm going to tell you, things will happen very, very quickly the clearer you get on it. So if you haven't read the book Think and Grow Rich, it's an absolute must. It's the third most read book on the planet after the Bible and Quran. Right? It's an amazing book. It has actually created more millionaires and multimillionaires than any other book out there. So read through the whole formula. He's got some really cool stuff in here, but that was the one piece that changed Joy and I's life. Within 3 months, this was 5 years ago, we blew out to $5,000 a month and $10,000 a month and kept going. And I attribute 99.9% of it to Think and Grow Rich and spending 30 minutes a day thinking about the person I intend to become. So I hope you found value in this. I hope this was clear and good for you. I've got a few people watching. Hey, guys. Richard, you can't be 1,000%, but thank you. He's my man. Thanks, guys. Hey, Bob. Yeah, Wayne was awesome. I'm sorry I couldn't remember that quote. I got off on a tangent. But Wayne had some really good stuff. But it's all about just thinking about the person you intend to become. You can't be anything different than that. That's however you're showing up in the world is how you're being. Okay, so if you want a new result, start planning and thinking about how that person is. Guys, I'm going to post this. It's here on Facebook. I'll turn it to a YouTube and put it on trainingwithdaveandjoy.com. I've got a lot of video. I've got a whole resource page with 7 or 8, 9 videos on there now. Stuff that didn't really fit a specific mold, but I love the mindset stuff, and I'm going to close the way I started. Shifting your mindset, getting into personal development is absolutely 95% of the success of your success in this business. At least 95%. It is. Until you're changing your being, you're not going to get a new result. And people will come into this industry and other industries, and they try to take that same square peg and pound it into a round hole. And I don't care how big your hammer is, it doesn't fit. So somebody needs to change, and that somebody is sitting in your seat. Fortunately, it's really easy. Fortunately, you're powerful. Fortunately, you've been given everything from God that you need to change and transfer and to move forward with. Now we're just got to tap into it. So spend 30 minutes a day thinking about the person you intend to become that has that result. Jot it down. Go buy a journal and just write that stuff in it. It's absolutely powerful. Have a fabulous evening, guys. I appreciate you. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.